Barbie is an undeniable cultural icon. At just under 12 inches, this doll has made a sizable impact in the United States and beyond. In 2006, it was estimated that over 1 billion Barbie dolls have been sold in 150 countries since the doll's initial release in 1959, reaching just as many girls worldwide through Barbie media, such as films, magazines and merchandise, as well as the dolls themselves. Yet the deceptively innocent doll has been put under just as much scrutiny in her 57-year history. Feminism is defined as the advocacy of women's rights on the ground of the equality of the sexes, and Mattel, Barbie's manufacturing company, have attempted to shape the discourse surrounding the doll towards this point of view. Nevertheless, Barbie is consistently criticised for her promotion of a white, heteronormative, hegemonic power structure rather than promoting equality. This essay intends to investigate both arguments to conclude whether or not we can read Barbie as a feminist icon.
Don't you have anything relevant to say?
Don't ask me. I'm just a girl.
The 1950s were infamous for their promotion of the nuclear family, where the breadwinning husband would operate within the public and economic spheres of society, while women were expected to live contentedly within the domestic sphere. By the end of the decade, however, corporate environments had begun to change. Barbie's creator was Ruth Handler, a woman and daughter to Jewish immigrants from Poland. She was behind the conception and invention of the Barbie doll, the first plastic doll of its kind in the United States, and she was the president of Mattel Incorporated. The idea for Barbie herself came from Handler's daughter, Barbara, who often played with paper dolls. This led Handler to create the durable plastic doll that she named after her daughter, Barbie. Since then, and following Handler's departure from the company in 1975, Mattel have continued to have women as the central decision makers on the Barbie line. Judith Butler argues in her book Gender Trouble that representation serves to extend visibility and legitimacy to women as political subjects, and evidently the representation within Mattel itself and the products they produce aligns with this ideology and portrays the company and the doll as a feminist icon.
Me, Barbie, the only person in the world who's had 126 careers and counting.
The inspirational Barbie line has rolled out over 150 dolls that advertise careers Barbie, and in turn Barbie owners, can go into. Since 2011, these careers have been selected on the basis of underrepresentation of women in these fields, such as film director Barbie, architect Barbie, and computer engineer Barbie. Accompanying these dolls is the tagline, "We can do anything, right girls?" A phrase that Mattel began to use in the 1980s to adapt to the liberated female ideology that permeated second-wave feminism and was now becoming integrated into American society. The phrase is designed to encourage Barbie owners to go into whatever profession they wish, to do anything. Erica Rand points out that this lexis of infinite possibility is supposed to perform as a feminist revision of the American dream. But Barbie is only ever able to be what Mattel releases her as. Anything is limited to what the consumer is able to buy. Barbie was initially sold as a single doll with costumes that could be bought separately. Now one has to buy a new doll for a new costume, and unfortunately, Barbie's careers are nothing more than a new costume. Barbie doesn't have to face the sexism that exists in the workplace today, let alone back in the 1980s. She can jump from fashion design to astronaut with impossible ease, creating highly unrealistic goals for young girls to attain. Rand underlines that Barbie's accessories work as a means of predetermining her choices. Barbie is no more than the sum of her palms. The inspirational line limits what young girls can be. If the doll is yet to become a rapper or a race car driver, editions made in 1992 and 2010, a girl's imagination becomes limited to simply what Barbie is until the next doll is released and can dictate what she can be. There have been 6 variations of presidential candidate Barbie, but not a single president Barbie. It is impossible to tell girls that they can be president, something that the 2016 presidential election has confirmed. A race that featured an underlying sexist rhetoric directed towards Hillary Clinton's campaign throughout. Looking at the doll itself, Barbie is fundamentally a white, blonde girl who has near impossible body proportions. This shape has been described by M.G. Lord as an amalgamation of the male and female body, mirroring the broad shoulders and narrow hips of a drag queen, as well as heavily exaggerated breasts, rather than the accurate proportions of a woman. No girl will ever look like Barbie, simply because Barbie is so unnatural. Yet, she is the epitome of Western beauty standards. Even Mattel, as a company, have been criticised for their hypocrisy of using the "we can do anything" tagline. Multiple lawsuits have been filed by Mattel intended to protect Barbie's perfect image. A stripper duo named Barbie and Ken were told to cease and desist using the nicknames, even when Ken argued that Barbie was simply taking her clothes off, in a tasteful way. Mattel also attempted to prevent screenings of Todd Haynes' 1989 film Superstar, a biopic about Karen Carpenter and her struggle with bulimia, which resulted in her death. The film, however, used Barbie dolls to play the role of Carpenter. In Mattel's eyes, Barbie isn't allowed to strip or have an eating disorder, and in turn, she can't do anything. Yet the key play function to any Barbie doll is stripping and dressing the doll, while the Ask Barbie section of Barbie magazine rapidly turns into an agony aunt begging the secrets to Barbie's diet. Responses would remind readers that Barbie was only a doll, and they shouldn't attempt to attain unrealistic body proportions. Yet in their eyes, the doll had moved past the plastic and fabric, and had become an idol. Nevertheless, the restrictions placed by Mattel on the doll reveals a feminist rhetoric that appears increasingly hollow. To look at Barbie as an icon inevitably foregrounds arguments of both stereotyped sexuality and gender. As discussed, Barbie is officially defined as a brand of doll representing a slim, shapely young woman, especially one with blonde hair, blue eyes, and fair skin. Arguably, her creation projected an image of what a woman should and could look like. In doing so, further determined gender, widening the ideological gap between woman and man. Judith Halberstam asserts, gender ideology produces the epistemological framework within which sex takes on meaning, rather than the other way round. Halberstam consolidates Judith Butler's theory of gender performativity, the notion by which gender both performs and covers up, as such acts and gestures aren't expressive of an already stable, coherent gender, but instead produce the effect of a gender. Butler suggests that gender performativity is simply an acting role. Therefore, one could argue that the role Barbie has taken on is somewhat shallow. Although the Barbies we've seen take on gender-neutral roles like an astronaut or a doctor, the doll within itself is undeniably sexualized. Whilst Barbie exudes confidence and promotes rhetoric of "you can be anything you want to be," she does so in attire that some have argued undermines any sense of professionalism trying to be established. Therefore, Barbie's sexualized image overshadows a credible ethos to inspire young girls to be aspirational, regardless of gender. Since its creation, Barbie has evolved as an icon. A key argument surrounding Barbie is the body image in which she promotes. If Barbie were an actual woman, she would be 5 foot 9 inches tall, have a 39-inch bust, an 18-inch waist, 33-inch hips, and a size 3 shoe. The Huffington Post have commented that Barbie would likely not menstruate. She'd have to walk on all fours due to her proportions. It is widely known that Barbie presents a highly unrealistic body image. In recent years, Mattel have responded to criticisms surrounding Barbie and released Lamely, a Barbie with the measurements of an average 19-year-old. This realistic doll was marketed to promote healthy body image to young girls. Lamely came with stickers of imperfections such as stretch marks, cuts, bruises and scars, with the hopes of creating a more relatable icon and encouraging a sense of open-mindedness. However, the doll was quickly nicknamed Fat Barbie, and when marketed next to the originals, appeared abnormal to young girls.
Why is it so gross?
The reception the doll had was unexpected and relates to Stuart Hall's theory of encoding and decoding. Hall advocates that the key part of the process is the decoder. how an image is received and interpreted. For example, a director may have created a film with a specific message. However, the audience may not understand the message or choose to interpret it differently. As such, with Barbie, the vision for Lamely fell short of the vision a young girl had when looking for a Barbie. Although Mattel had the intention of creating a relatable doll, the reality of the situation was that Barbie had already been established as the infamously unrealistically slender icon. Whilst Barbie is evidently a cultural icon, she still remains under constant public and critical surveillance, with many questioning what it is she actually promotes. To keep up with the changes in society during the second half of the 20th century, Mattel have attempted to release and create inspirational Barbies, advocating aspirational goals to young girls. However, Barbie's predetermined image as a doll with an unrealistic body, draped in scantily clad attire, further establishes the icon as sexualized. In addition, the notion by which Barbie can transfer from one career to the other fails to reflect, to an extent, the sexist nature of the workplace. As such, as an icon, she frequently falls under an association with a heteronormative hegemonic power structure, failing to promote equality. This failure, combined with the underutilized global platform Mattel have at their disposal to place Barbie as a woman advocating women's rights, places the doll on the periphery of what society views as a feminist icon.
Bye. Okay. Are they all gone? Is everybody gone? Huh? Good. Oh my gosh, my cheeks are killing me. I can't keep smiling like this anymore. I am exhausted.